The glass slipped from my fingers the moment she said it. I didn't even hear it shatter. We were at a long table in her parents' dining room. White linen, fake crystal chandeliers flickering overhead, 10 smug faces laughing too hard at a joke I hadn't caught. I thought maybe I missed something. Maybe it wasn't about me. Maybe it wasn't what I thought. But then her voice cut through the noise, coated in venom and sarcasm. "You don't even know who the real father is," said Madison, my wife. She said it loud, clear, not even a hint of hesitation. Her smile was sharp enough to slice through flesh, and her wine glass hovered in her hand like she was delivering a toast. Across from me, her mother snickered without a trace of shame. "That kid doesn't even look like you." Laughter erupted around the table. Real, full-bellied laughter. Her brother Daniel choked on his mashed potatoes. Her aunt wiped away tears of joy. I felt like the only one in the room not in on the joke. Except maybe for my son. My 9-year-old son. Noah sat frozen next to me, his fork mid-air. His knuckles were pale, gripping the handle like it was the only thing keeping him anchored. He looked from me to his mother, then to the people laughing, people who were supposed to love him, protect him. And then he did something none of us expected. He stood up. The chair legs screeched back against the floor. Silence felt like a curtain, all eyes locking onto him. His voice came out steady, but his bottom lip was trembling. Actually, his words sent a tremor through my chest. I didn't know what he was going to say, but I knew it would be something no child should ever have to. Madison rolled her eyes. "Oh, please." But Noah didn't stop. "Actually, Dad is my real dad," he said. "I found the test. The DNA test. It was in your closet, Mom. In the red folder under your scarves. It says his name. And mine. It matches. You lied." The room cracked. Not physically, but you could feel it, like the atmosphere had just been sucked out. Madison's face went stone cold, like a predator caught in daylight. Her wine glass tilted, and red liquid dripped onto her ivory dress. Still, she didn't flinch. "You little snoop," she hissed through clenched teeth. But Noah wasn't finished. "You told Uncle Mike you wish I wasn't his," he said, his voice rising now. "You said you were going to ruin everything on purpose, so he'd leave. So you could finally go be with Tyler." There it was. The name. Tyler. My hands were on the table, flat, trembling. The name echoed in my mind like a bullet in a steel room. Tyler was her trainer, some tan guy with fake teeth and real abs she met at her new gym. I didn't like him the moment I saw him, always calling her Mads like they'd grown up together. But she'd always just laughed, touched my arm, called me jealous. I believed her. I wanted to believe her. Until tonight. I could feel every eye in the room shifting now, from Noah, to her, to me. They weren't laughing anymore. Madison scoffed, stood up, and leaned forward across the table. "Oh, grow up," she spat at me. "You want the truth? Fine. Yeah, I was bored. You go to work, come home tired, talk about stocks and lawn care. I needed a man in my life, not a walking paycheck." Her voice curled around every insult like a snake tightening around its kill. I stared at her, this woman I'd once married under the stars in Santa Barbara. Her eyes had been full of promises then. Now, they were hollow. "Mean. You're disgusting," I whispered. But even as I said it, I didn't feel anger yet. Just emptiness. Like something inside me had finally stopped pretending. She tilted her head and smiled. "You'll get over it." Noah sat down slowly. His head dropped, shoulders tight. He didn't say another word. He didn't have to. That was the night everything changed. The night laughter turned into confession. The night my marriage ended with a dinner toast. And I hadn't even touched my plate. I didn't leave right away. I sat there, in that chair, long after everyone else had drifted out of the room, pretending the tension hadn't just torn open a living wound. Madison had gone upstairs. Her family had retreated to the den like it was just another Tuesday, like what had happened at the table was a funny little sideshow to pass the time before dessert. Noah stayed beside me for a while. Didn't speak. Just sat there, legs swinging under the chair, eyes locked on the glass of water he hadn't touched. Then he whispered, "I didn't want to say it like that, but I couldn't let them laugh at you." I reached over, placed my hand on his shoulder. That was the first time I felt something real that night. Not pain, not rage, but pride. Because in the middle of a room full of cowards and liars, my son had stood up for the truth. I went upstairs eventually, mostly because I needed answers. Or maybe I was hoping there was still a version of this story that made sense. That maybe I had misunderstood something, twisted it in my head. But when I opened the bedroom door and saw Madison already on the phone, giggling like a teenager, I knew there was nothing left to salvage. She saw me in the doorway, gave a lazy wave, and said into the phone, "Gotta go. The caveman's here." I didn't react. Just walked over, pulled out the red folder from the closet, the one Noah mentioned. She didn't try to stop me. Just lay back on the bed like she was watching a boring movie. I opened it. There it was. The test. Black and white and undeniable. My name. Noah's name. 99.99%. I was his father. No doubts. No maybes. Just the truth she buried beneath layers of mind games and manipulation. "You lied," I said. "Define lie," she said, staring at her nails. "Technically, I never said you weren't the dad. I just let everyone have fun with the idea. And hey, maybe it would have been easier if you weren't." I stared at her. She didn't look human anymore. Just this empty, soulless thing playing house for as long as the perks stayed good. "You really wanted me to think he wasn't mine?" I asked. "Of course," she said, like it was obvious. "Because if you believed he wasn't yours, you'd leave. And I wouldn't have to be the bad guy." My heart didn't break. It snapped, like a branch under too much weight. There was no crying, no begging, just a numb, growing clarity. She had built a world where truth was an inconvenience and betrayal was strategy. She stood up, walked over to me, placed a hand on my chest. "Come on, don't be dramatic. We had a good run. 9 years? That's longer than most Hollywood marriages." I stepped back. "No, Madison. We didn't have a good run. I had a delusion. You had a plan." She rolled her eyes. "So what now? You gonna leave? Take the kid? What? Become some sad single dad in a condo with a dog and a calendar full of visitation weekends?" I didn't answer her. I walked out of the room, walked past her mother who tried to fake a smile as I passed, and straight to Noah's room. He was sitting on the floor, building something out of Legos with the kind of focus only kids in chaos develop. He looked up when I entered. "We're going home," I said. He nodded. Didn't even ask which home. Because he knew. He'd been waiting for me to choose him over the circus. I packed in silence. No drama. No final fights. Madison didn't try to stop me. She probably thought I'd come crawling back once the reality of single parenting hit me. She underestimated how final the snap had been. On the drive back, Noah asked quietly, "Are you mad at me for what I said?" I looked at him. My son. My blood. The only honest soul at that damn table. "No," I said. "You saved me." He looked out the window and whispered, "I was scared." "I was too," I replied. And we drove through the night, father and son, leaving behind a house full of laughter, masks, and monsters. The apartment was smaller than the house, older, with flickering hallway lights and a heater that rattled when it came on. But it was ours. Mine and Noah's. The lease was signed by morning, furniture ordered by noon. I'd never moved this fast in my life, but some decisions don't need time, just clarity. And betrayal, when stripped raw, gives you clarity in gallons. Noah adjusted better than I expected. He didn't cry. Not once. But he'd cling to me when I walked in from work, follow me into the kitchen, ask me if I was staying home that night. His trust had been cracked, just like mine. He needed reassurance that someone in his world wouldn't disappear. A week passed before Madison called. Her number lit up my phone while I was unpacking dishes. I stared at it, thumb hovering, heartbeat dull and heavy. I answered. Her voice was casual. Too casual. "So, Noah's school called. Said he missed a permission slip? Email me next time," I said, dryly. She scoffed. "Oh, come on. Don't be like that." I almost laughed. Like that. As if my reaction was the problem. As if being lied to, humiliated, emotionally gutted in front of a dining room full of snakes was something I should be over by now. "Why did you really call?" I asked. There was a pause. She was deciding how much truth to risk. "Fine," she said. "I didn't think you'd actually leave. I thought you'd fight for me or something. But you just walked away. Like I meant nothing." I almost said it. "You didn't." But I held back. Instead, I asked, "Was there ever a moment you loved me? Or was I always just a placeholder?" Another pause. "You were safe," she finally said. "You were stable. That's what I needed when I got pregnant. Tyler was fun, but he's not husband material. You were. And now?" I asked, bracing myself. She laughed. "Now I'm bored. Tyler doesn't want anything serious. He's got his own mess. You think I'm happy? I got the house, but it feels like a museum." I didn't respond. "I'm just saying," she added, her tone shifting to something softer, sugar-laced. "We could maybe work something out. You know, for Noah. He needs both of us." There it was. Her strategy. Use the kid as leverage. Pretend the past month hadn't happened. Rewrite history like she always did. Noah needs one thing, I said. A father who puts him first. A mother who doesn't poison the air he breathes with lies. You don't get to play saint, she snapped. No, I said, but I get to walk away. And stay away. I hung up. That night, I found Noah asleep on the couch, curled under my jacket. The TV was still on, cartoons playing low. I sat beside him and watched the glow flicker across his face. I wasn't a perfect man. I wasn't some superhero dad. But I was here. And in this new chapter, that mattered more than anything. 2 days later, a letter arrived. A lawyer's letter. Madison wanted full custody. It didn't shock me. She was cornered. And when she was cornered, she lashed out. But I had something she didn't, truth, and a son who finally knew it. I didn't wait. I called a lawyer, scheduled a meeting, pulled every message, document, and statement I'd kept. The red folder, the text backups, the voicemail she left where she joked about milking me for support. This wasn't just a divorce anymore. It was war. But not the kind with screaming matches and throne plates. The kind fought in courtrooms and visitation hours. And I was ready. Because now, every move I made was for Noah. Not revenge. Not closure. Just protection. And maybe, finally, peace. The first court date was gray and drizzling. Fitting. Like the sky knew we were dragging everything into the open. Madison showed up in a white blazer and heels that clicked too confidently on the courtroom floor. Her mother trailed behind her, carrying some giant binder like she was a paralegal. I don't know if she thought her presence would intimidate me. It didn't. I had a folder in my hands. Inside it, truth. Proof of messages, voice recordings, Noah's written statement, his counselor helped him write it, and a copy of the paternity results. No drama. No accusations. Just facts, enough to drown out the circus she'd turned our lives into. She didn't even glance at me when she walked in. Sat on the opposite side, crossed her legs like she was the victim here. I almost smiled at the absurdity of it. Almost. The judge asked a few basic questions. Madison's lawyer spoke first, weaving some tale about me being emotionally volatile, inconsistent, that moving out with Noah so quickly showed recklessness, not responsibility. Then they mentioned emotional manipulation, that I'd turned Noah against his mother. And then it was my turn. I didn't play defense. I handed over the documents. I read aloud one of Madison's own texts to her friend, the one where she said, "Noah's my backup plan if Tyler doesn't get serious." The courtroom fell silent at that line. Even the judge leaned forward. When it was over, I walked out with temporary full custody and a review period set for 3 months. Madison screamed in the hallway. Not at me, at her lawyer. Loud enough for Noah to hear if he'd been there. I told myself I wouldn't enjoy any of this, that it wasn't about revenge. But part of me did. Not because she lost, but because for once, her lies didn't win. Weeks passed. Life stabilized. I got used to mornings with cereal crumbs on the counter, helping Noah with homework, ironing little shirts for school. We built routines. New ones. Better ones. One night, I caught him staring at the fridge where he'd taped a photo of the two of us fishing from the summer before. He looked different now. Older. Not physically, just clearer. Like something heavy had lifted from his shoulders. "You think Mom ever really loved me?" he asked. It felt like a punch to the chest. But I didn't flinch. "She loves you in her own way," I said, choosing my words like glass on a tightrope. "But sometimes people love selfishly. They love how you make them feel, not who you are." He nodded slowly, like he understood more than I wished he did. I added, "But I love you for exactly who you are. Every part. No condition. No agenda." He smiled. It wasn't wide, but it was real. And that made it everything. The custody review came and went. Madison didn't show up to the second hearing. Her lawyer stood alone, muttering something about personal emergencies and reconsideration later. But I knew. She was gone. Word came through a mutual friend. She'd followed Tyler to Nevada, chasing a fresh start and some fantasy life where consequences didn't exist. No goodbye. No fight. Not even a call to Noah. It broke him. For days, he didn't speak much. He didn't cry either. Just sat there, watching the door like maybe she'd knock any second. When it finally hit him that she wouldn't, he asked, "Was it my fault?" That one shattered me more than anything else had. "No," I said, voice cracking. "She left because of her. Not you. Never you." He crawled into my lap, too old for it by most standards, but I didn't care. I held him until he fell asleep. Then longer. Because if there was one thing I could give him, it was the comfort of never being left again. One night, months later, we sat watching a movie, something dumb and animated, with talking dogs and too many fart jokes. He looked over at me, grinned, and said, "You know, Dad, I like this version of us." I smiled back. "Me too, buddy." And for the first time in years, I realized I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was finally living. Months turned into a year. Seasons changed. School photos replaced the older ones on the fridge, and Noah grew taller. His laugh came easier now, not as guarded. He didn't flinch at the sound of a phone ringing. He didn't ask about Madison anymore. Not even once. But I still thought about her. Not with longing, with a kind of quiet disbelief. Like looking at an old scar and wondering how something so deep could have ever healed. One evening, while clearing out boxes from the storage room, I found an old notebook, hers. Madison used to write half-baked poetry and affirmations like she was auditioning for a self-help seminar. Flipping through it, I stumbled on a page written the month Noah was born. It read, "He trusts me completely. He doesn't know I'm already slipping away." It was like being hit in the chest with a hammer made of ink. She knew. From the start, I wasn't her partner. I was a placeholder. A stage prop while she waited for a better script. I tore the page out, not in anger, in finality. That chapter didn't belong here anymore. The next day, Noah got into a scuffle at school. Nothing serious. A kid said something about, "Your mom not wanting you," and Noah swung. I got the call from the principal, did the standard apologies, promised to handle it. On the drive home, Noah was silent. I didn't press. At a red light, he finally muttered, "It's true though. She didn't want me." I pulled over. Didn't care that we were halfway through a busy intersection. Turned the engine off. "Listen to me," I said, turning to face him. "She didn't know how to love. That's not on you. That's on her. And you? You're wanted more than you'll ever understand. You're my reason for breathing, kid." He looked out the window, wiping his face with the sleeve of his hoodie. Then, quietly, he asked, "Why do some people make families just to break them?" It took me a moment to answer. Because some people are trying to fill a hole inside themselves with things they don't understand. Love isn't a trophy. It's a responsibility. It's waking up every day and choosing someone, even when it's hard. He didn't say anything else. But when we got home, he hugged me before walking to his room. That hug meant everything. A week later, I got a call from an unknown number. It was Madison. Her voice was different. Slurred, distracted. She talked in circles, something about Tyler leaving her, needing help, just for a little while. I let her talk. Then, when she asked if she could visit Noah, I told her the truth. "No, not now. He's healing. You don't get to break him again just because your world fell apart." She cried, begged a little, then cursed, said I was turning him against her. I didn't react. "You did that yourself," I said, and hung up. I didn't tell Noah she called. Some wounds didn't need reopening. Instead, I focused on us. We started camping once a month. Just the two of us. Tents, stars, burnt marshmallows. I taught him how to fish, how to make a fire, how to sit still with the silence and let it speak. And one night, sitting beside the fire, he said, "I think we're better like this." I looked at him, hair messy under his beanie, a streak of marshmallow on his cheek, eyes glowing with firelight and peace. "Yeah," I whispered. "We are." That night, as he slept beside me in the tent, I thought about everything that had happened. The lies, the betrayal, the court battles, the silence, the screaming. And then I thought about this moment. My son, safe, dreaming beside me. I smiled. Madison broke a home, but I built a life. Spring melted into summer, and the weight that used to sit on my chest every morning finally faded into something lighter. I stopped checking my phone for messages that never came. I stopped expecting apologies. Madison was gone. Not physically, she still existed somewhere, but from our world, she was a ghost. Noah thrived. He joined the school band. Trumpet. Loud and slightly off-key at first, but he practiced every day until his cheeks ached and the neighbors politely requested fewer late-night rehearsals. He made friends. Good ones. He smiled in every new photo. His teachers said he was different now, more focused, more sure of himself. And me? I learned how to breathe again. I started running in the mornings, nothing intense, just enough to remind myself I had a body worth caring about. I cooked, not just for function but for flavor. I started drawing again, something I hadn't done since college, filling sketchbooks with images of things that felt honest. Firewood. A kid's sneakers. A father's hands. One afternoon, Noah came home with a flyer for a father-son talent show. "Want to do it?" he asked. I raised an eyebrow. You trying to ruin our reputations? He grinned. Too late. I already signed us up. We practiced for a week. He played trumpet. I drew on a huge easel beside him, sketching in real time while he blasted out a heroic, slightly chaotic tune. We called it The Sound of Strength. It wasn't good, technically, but it was us. Real, loud, a little messy, and proud. The audience cheered. Afterward, a mom came up to me and said, "You two seem really close." I wish my ex was like that with our son. I didn't know what to say. I just smiled and nodded, but her words stayed with me. It wasn't about being perfect. It was about showing up, over and over, no matter what. One evening, Noah came into the kitchen while I was chopping vegetables. Dad? Yeah. If Mom called again, would you let her visit? I stopped mid-chop. I don't know, I said carefully. Do you want her to? He hesitated, then shook his head. Not really. I wonder if she ever thinks about us. She might, I said. But thinking about someone and showing up for them are two different things. He nodded slowly, then changed the subject. He didn't bring her up again for months. But I knew the thought was still there, like an echo you can't unhear. That fall, something unexpected happened. A letter arrived. Not an email. Not a text. A real letter, in a crumpled envelope, written in slanted cursive I hadn't seen in years. It was from Madison. 5 pages. Rambling, erratic, jumping between regret and justification. She said she missed us. Said she was sorry, but also that I had pushed her away. She asked if she could see Noah. Just once. Said she'd changed. That she was sober now. Alone. Lost. I didn't respond right away. I read it twice. 3 times. I thought about it for a week. Then I sat Noah down. I handed him the letter. You can read it, I said. Or I can tell you what it says. Or you can throw it away. It's your choice. He stared at the envelope for a long time, then slid it back to me, unopened. Keep it, he said. I don't need her words. I have yours. That night, I burned the letter in the backyard fire pit. Not out of hate. Just closure. Noah stood beside me, hands in his pockets, watching the paper curl and blacken into ash. He didn't ask what it said, and I didn't tell him. Some things are better left to flames. We stood there long after the fire died down, and in the stillness, I realized. She broke us, but we rebuilt stronger. Winter came early that year. The kind of cold that seeps into your bones before you even zip your coat. Snow piled along the edges of the driveway, and Noah started leaving his trumpet by the radiator so it wouldn't freeze. We decorated our tiny apartment with too many lights, a tree too big for the corner, and a star that kept tilting to the left no matter how many times we straightened it. It didn't matter. It was perfect. One night, while we were stringing popcorn garlands and watching some black and white Christmas movie, Noah turned to me and said, I don't feel like something's missing anymore. I didn't answer right away. Just let those words hang in the room like they deserved to. He meant her. And he was right. We didn't talk about Madison much anymore. Her name became like old wallpaper, still there if you looked close, but easy to forget when the room filled with better things. Then, 2 days before Christmas, I got another letter. Different handwriting this time. Neater. Legal. It was from a firm in Reno. Madison had died. Car accident. She'd been drinking again. Alone. No seatbelt. There was no funeral. No obituary. Just a line in the letter. You and your son are the next of kin. She left no will. I sat on the edge of the bed, letter in hand, and stared out the window while the snow kept falling in slow, silent spirals. I didn't feel joy, or relief, or even anger. Just a hollow quiet. I didn't know how to tell Noah. So I didn't, not right away. Instead, we went sledding that day, laughed, fell into snowbanks, came home soaked and red-cheeked, drank cocoa, and watched the tree lights blink through the window reflection. I let him sleep peacefully that night. The next morning, I sat him down. He didn't cry. He didn't even look surprised. Just nodded slowly, like he already knew. She wasn't really coming back, was she? He asked. No, I said. I don't think she ever really planned to. He rubbed his hands together, stared at the floor. I hope wherever she is, it doesn't hurt anymore. That was Noah. Still good. Still soft inside. Even after everything. We lit a candle for her that night. Said nothing while it burned. And when it flickered out, we left it at that. January came with quiet days and routines. The world didn't stop. It never does. But something inside us had shifted. A final weight had lifted. No more waiting. No more maybe someday. We started planning a trip, just the two of us, to Colorado. Mountains, cabins, snowboards. Noah had never seen real peaks before. Before we left, I packed a box of old things. Letters, photos, the DNA test, even that first red folder. I didn't throw it away. I just stored it. Not for remembering, but for letting go. The night before the trip, Noah came into my room and sat on the edge of the bed. You ever think about starting over? He asked. What do you mean? Like, meeting someone. You've been alone a long time, Dad. I smiled. He was worried about me now. I'm not alone, I said. I've got the only person who matters. He laughed, nudged my shoulder. Yeah, but still. You should be happy, too. I am, I said. I promise you, I am. And I meant it. Because I learned that happiness isn't loud. It's not champagne toasts or picture-perfect families and holiday cards. It's slow mornings, honest words, quiet strength. It's a kid laughing on a sled. A dinner without tension. A life rebuilt from rubble, stronger, wiser, unshakable. She tried to destroy me, but I became a better man than I ever was with her. And Noah? He's the reason I made it out. The Colorado trip felt like closing a chapter with fresh air and open sky. We drove through winding roads where the mountains rose like giants, dusted in snow, silent and ancient. Noah sat in the passenger seat with his feet on the dashboard, snapping photos on his phone, narrating fake documentaries in a British accent. He laughed more that week than I'd heard in years. We hiked. We crashed miserably trying to snowboard. We sat by the fireplace at night, drinking hot cider and roasting marshmallows like we were kids. It wasn't a vacation, it was a reset. A reminder that healing isn't a finish line. It's the quiet persistence of showing up for yourself and for the people you love every single day. On the last night, Noah asked me something I'll never forget. Do you ever wish she hadn't lied? I didn't hesitate. I wish she hadn't lied, but I don't wish she stayed. He nodded. Thought about it. Me neither. We didn't need to say anything else. When we got home, I hung a new frame above Noah's bed, a photo we took on the mountain. Snow in our hair. Wide smiles. No baggage behind our eyes. Years passed. Noah became a teenager, then a young man. I watched him grow into someone I was proud of, not because he was perfect, but because he was kind, honest, and brave. Everything his mother wasn't. Everything I hoped I'd helped shape. He went off to college with a beat-up truck and a heart full of purpose. On the day he left, he hugged me longer than I expected. You saved me, he whispered. But the truth is he saved me. I stood alone on the porch as his truck disappeared down the road, and for the first time in a long, long time, I felt peace. Not the kind you search for, the kind you earn. So here's what I learned, for any man who finds himself sitting in the same storm I once did. When someone breaks you, rebuild. When they lie, live louder in your truth. And when they walk away, don't chase. You're not the broken one. You're the one who survived. And sometimes, that's the real victory.